Kristen Brown, Texas A&M Deputy Director of Athletics, joins us at the Cows event here at Baylor McLean Stadium in the Baylor Club on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Well, nothing's been going on at A&M, huh?
Nothing at all. No, it's been a fun spring for us down in College Station.
What, in the end, when you look at the move and where A&M is and things are building and getting better, can you even fathom how much better A&M is right now?
Yeah, so I don't have the benefit of seeing A&M pre-SEC and pre all of the things that are happening now. But what I do know is we have an incredible athletic director in Ross Bjork, and he had a vision for A&M when he took over, and he knew that it was a bit of a sleeping giant, and all it took was the right leadership, the right people in the right places, and the ability to really cultivate those relationships with donors and whatnot, and hiring the right coaches. And now you're seeing some of that vision fall into place.
Having grown up, like I told you before the interview, I grew up in an Aggie family, and one of the things that kind of people would always complain about is they knew that A&M had this potential to be really big, but it was going to be like a 15-year kind of mold once they decided to do that. Are we kind of seeing the tail end of A&M as an institution decided this is what we are now? We can be a behemoth, but we have to put people in who aren't old coaches or this or that or kind of cronyism and move into people who can move the university forward.
Yeah, you need the right people in the right place who have the right vision. And I think for a long time, there might have been some folks who thought of A&M as just, we can be competitive in the Big 12. We can, do this or that. And it took the right people at the right time to bring all of those things together to change that mentality of we have the potential to be great at A&M. We've got all the resources. We've got the facilities. We've got a passionate fan base, probably as passionate as I've ever seen. And so all of those things were in place. It just, again, it takes the right leadership to kind of cultivate and get that out of us.
What was it like, your introduction to just how passionate that fan base is?
So I had a unique transition. I started at A&M right after COVID happened. And so everything gets shut down. I moved to College Station, and it was immediately isolated and all of that. So we start that fall. We have football, and the first home game is a Vanderbilt game, night game. Stadium's at 25%. And people were apologizing to me, like, we're so sorry this is your first experience with A&M. Like, you'll see, like, at some point you'll see what it's like. And I said, and I love my previous institution. I came from the University of Maryland, and I said, A&M at 25% is better at Maryland at 100%.
Yeah.
So that was my first introduction to it. But then when I saw a full stadium, full capacity the following season, I mean, there's nothing like it. It was our red, white, and blue game. We opened the season this past year against Kent State. I mean, just absolute chills. When you see it all come together, it's hard to describe unless you're in it, but it's an unbelievable experience.
Well, it is an incredibly loyal fan base. It's unbelievable, and now things are going well, and it's not that they haven't gone well before, they have. So how quickly did people start texting each other a couple, 2 or 3 weeks ago when Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher had their little cat fight?
You're going to get me in trouble. So it was, a Wednesday night when the video first surfaced, and I saw it before I went to bed and thought, ooh, that's some interesting comments there. And then woke up the next day, and I was actually traveling that day, and by the time I had gotten to the airport, heard we had called a press conference. And so by the time I had gotten through security, the press conference was over, and saw some of the social media interaction, and thought, oh boy, all right, we got some challenges and some things that we've got to address. And so when I finally got to where I was going, checked in with my AD, and he had obviously been in touch with the conference office and Coach Fisher throughout the day, but certainly some fireworks a few weeks ago, that's for sure.
You handled that very well. You really, really did.
But look, it ties it in. Texas A&M is now in the position to where when their coach gets in a fight with a guy who thinks he's the college football pope, people care.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's not forget, last year, probably around this time, there was a comment made that we wouldn't be competitive against them, and something about golf or whatever, and we were like, no, we're talking football. And then look what happened during the fall. We handled that game.
Yeah, you did.
What was that moment like? Where were you when the field goal was kicked?
Oh boy! So I kind of hip to hip with our athletic director on game days, and so during the game, after we're on the field pregame, meeting with recruits and whatnot, we go up to his suite with his family and some of his guests, and then we always come down to the field in the fourth quarter. So I was on the 10-yard line of the south end zone. And honestly, because, when situations like that, usually the opposing coach calls a timeout.
Sure.
So I was looking across the field trying to find Coach Saban to see if he was going to call timeout. So I didn't even see the kick go up. But all of a sudden, I hear the reaction of the crowd. And all of a sudden, we all just start running out to the field. And I see one of our deputy athletic directors sprinting down the field. My AD is sprinting out to midfield. I go to find him. We hug. And then I turn around and see 100,000 people coming down to the field. And so thankfully there was a very nice police officer that helped pull me to the side, got me to the end zone to a safe place. But I was down on the field when that happened.
You do a lot that doesn't have to do just specifically with sports. A lot about life outside of that as well. I'm trying to figure out kind of how to ask this question. There's so much going on right now. You know the topics, NIL and all of that. And I've asked a lot of other administrators, is education getting lost in the shuffle? Is some of those experiences that maybe aren't Sports Center highlights getting lost in the shuffle? How do you see all that, and how do you think that's being balanced right now in college athletics?
Yeah, it's certainly a challenge. You're right. NIL has kind of taken a front seat to everything. I mean, A&M has been mentioned a lot when it comes to NIL, and not all of it is true, I will add. But, we have a fantastic institution that is a top 20 public university, and so we are educators at the end of the day. We are educators, and that is our focus for our student athletes. And then it's about building the support around them, whether that's some of the areas I oversee in academics, some of our wellness areas, and just making sure that, yes, you're there to compete in your sport, but there is so much else that we're going to support you with and prepare you with for life. Whenever you hang up your shoes, hang up your cleats, whatever it is, your helmet, we're going to prepare you for all of these other things for life after sport.
So then if you hear things about a bigger league, a higher level college football league, is that good for education?
You're going to get me in trouble. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know the answer either. I don't know.
Sometimes you got to say I don't know. There's part of it that's kind of exciting, this kind of elite level league, but there is something to be said for, the Autonomy 5 conferences and the Group of 5 conferences competing against each other and having a national championship and all of those things. So I don't know if I have a good answer for that outside of it's intriguing, but there is something to be said for the current structure and the current model.
Less than a year ago, almost a year ago now, the world was, all of a sudden shaken up by the fact that Texas and Oklahoma are coming into the SEC. Obviously, A&M's, roots going to the SEC, a lot of that had to do with wanting to have an identity separate from Texas. Now, they've had a decade to do that. Now that you've had a year, how have the emotions changed over that initial shock of like, look, we essentially, for lack of a better term, we got a divorce and we moved, and now here you are moving into the neighborhood. How do you feel about it overall? Yeah,
you're right. There was the initial shock of when it happened, but then it settled in. It was like, hey, we're Texas A&M, and we've been in the SEC now for 10 years. We are in a great place financially. We're in a great place competitively. We've got all of the right coaches and staff in the right place. Bring it on. Because now you're coming into our world where we've had some success in several different sports. So bring it on. We welcome the challenge, but we had to remember who we are, and we're in a pretty good place and have been in a pretty good place since going into the SEC.
You are the senior most athletics administrator at A&M. Jovan Overshone does a great job here at Baylor. She, believe me, has a lot of clout here as well. Do you see things getting better for women in sports when it comes to college athletics and administration?
Yeah, I do. I'm lucky. I've been the byproduct of several women who, broke down those doors, broke down those barriers, so that I would have an opportunity to be a deputy AD at Texas A&M. We certainly have a lot of growth and a lot of room to improve. I think we're at maybe less than 10% of Division I athletic directors are women, and that number is even less for women of color. But we're trending in the right direction. Like I said, we have a lot of work to do, but there's certainly more opportunities for advancement, and it behooves those of us who are in positions of leadership right now to continue to do a good job, because that will then open the door for people who are coming behind us.
Kristen, we appreciate it. The landscape of college athletics, is there a better time or maybe not than right now with all that's going on?
It depends. If you like a challenge, then this is a great time. If you're afraid of a challenge, then you're probably ready to get out of athletics. But as somebody who was an athlete and is competitive, I want the challenge of figuring out where the ship of college athletics is going.
Now that you mentioned as being an ex-athlete and looking at kind of what's all in front of it, and you're dealing with the student-athlete experience and all of that, what's your perspective on if you would have been able to get NIL coming up, but you know what I'm saying? Like from your standpoint, what do you think of that? Because you've got the benefit of having seen both sides of this.
Yeah, would I have been able to get NIL? Absolutely not, because I despise social media, and I'm one who tends to keep my life and everything that I'm doing somewhat private. And so, but I mean, that's part of NIL. The more active you are on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, which I don't even have a TikTok. I want to be as far away as possible from TikTok. Like, you have to have those things. And for me, like, I just want to do the work. I want to go to class, or when I was a student athlete, wanted to go to class, do the work, and just handle my business in order to become whatever it is that I wanted to become, which now I'm here. So yeah, I would have been terrible with NIL. Absolutely terrible.
Thanks for your time. Continued luck. Good luck.
Thank you.
Appreciate what you bring to the table as well. And I know A&M's proud of you. Kristen Brown, Deputy Athletics Director, Student Athlete Experience at Texas A&M University. Cal's event at McLean Stadium, Sikkim 365 Radio.